Welcome back to Mark Haney, igniting the entrepreneurial revolution with the HaneyBiz Project.
Welcome back to the HaneyBiz Project, brought to you courtesy of Hub International. I'm Mark Haney, and today I have the privilege of having Mr. Craig Hettrich join me. He's the CEO of California Growth Advisors. How you doing, Craig?
Great, Mark. Good to be back again.
Yeah, so we were just talking. It's been about 1.5 years for you. John had been about 2 years. And both of you guys, I love my job being surrounded by the most ambitious guys in entrepreneurship in Sacramento. You're moving and shaking as well. Tell us what's going on with Craig Hettrich.
Sure. So if your call was CEO of Java City, and then 2 years ago, I went to actually Entrepreneur and started Renaissance Executive Forums Greater Sacramento and CEO peer groups where we get business owners, 8 to 10, that leverage their experience, expertise, and resources to improve performance in personal lives. And so we've built 3 peer groups, 26 members, going well. But I've also found out that there were some CEOs that just didn't have time to be in a peer group, or they might have had several components of their business that weren't as strong as they needed to be. So I've launched California Growth Advisors as a program to help them strengthen the 6 key areas of their business, and by really learning, adapting, and mastering the best practice disciplines of great companies.
Well, I first have to say, yeah, for sure, thank you for coming back on the show. I think this is very helpful for our audience. But thank you on a personal note as well. My daughter, Ashley, CEO of Haney Garcia Realty Group. I think she's got like 60-something agents now. It's growing pretty well. She is in your advisory program. She's in one of your programs, and I know she is a huge fan, and which makes me a huge fan as well, Craig. So you're helping a lot of people, but you're helping my family. So thank you very much.
No problem. She's great.
Thank you. So now on your background, so a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we sort of maybe quit our job and go out and stake out on our own, and maybe we're even working at small business. We don't have the experience in being in a larger organization. It's almost it's kind of even hard for us to imagine how we might get there. Mm-hmm. You bring that background and that experience. What do you bring in experience?
Well, I think I bring in the fact that I've run companies in very small levels. There's 5-6 million, which are a lot of these type companies here, all the way up to 420 million. So I've been through all the stages of scaling up, and I've experienced that. I've faced their issues, walked in their shoes, and hit those road bumps and hit the ceiling, and have been able to get through that. So I felt like I could share some of my experience and learnings with business owners.
Yeah, I have to imagine when you come in with that kind of credibility, people like my daughter are just sitting there going, wow, kind of, hanging on every word to a certain extent. But what do you do to get them prepared to go back out in real estate or in a nonprofit? I mean, they're coming from all walks of life. I mean, are all businesses the same?
Well, they're all different, but there's a lot of commonalities in the way you run a successful business. Like I said, there's about 5 or 6 key areas of your business that have to be strong. You have to have a vision, a clear vision, as we're talking about today, which is great. You have to have the right seats, great processes. You have to execute strong and hold people accountable and things like that. And so we teach those, and then in the peer groups, they learn from each other too, mm-hmm. and that feeling that I'm not alone, and they share their experiences and their expertise from different backgrounds and in different functional areas, all look at the world very differently, and they have that best thinking on the table to help them with their decisions.
What kind of problems are people or obstacles in business are people experiencing?
Yeah, probably the number one is hiring great people. And I think that's a big one there.
I guess right now, too, especially in Sacramento, right? It's hard to find great people.
But you know what a differentiator is for them? It's culture. And culture and core purpose matter. So when we talk about vision, before you even get your vision settled, you have to have your core purpose done. So we go through exercises with our teams and our leadership teams, and we ask them what their why is. And it's a simple process: what you do, why you do it 5 times. And you come to that 3-word why that mm-hmm. is really your North Star.
Right.
So that is everything you do.
Walk
that
me
has
through
to go back
that
to
exercise. I think that's a fun exercise. I've done it myself, where you say, why do you want to do that? Right. And then, well,
yes.
Why? Walk me through that.
The reason why I do that is because sometimes the management teams are split on where they want to go. But that is a unifying process. It gets everyone level set on why we're doing this, right? So you first exercise, part of the exercise is you say what you do, right? Working alone, 5 or 6 people in a management team. Then you ask, why does that matter, right? Then you ask again, why, and then 5 times. And really about the third why, you've got something very profound.
Okay.
That is what we believe in, right? And that is our North Star and why we get up every day and work hard for this company. It's really about 3 words.
Okay, thinking about John Bissell, the guy that was just on earlier with Origins, I mean, he is changing the world by creating plastic water bottles that, that you can throw, not plastic, he'd probably punch me if he was here, but he's water bottles that you could throw, you could throw in the garbage or throw in the, they could be recycled. I mean, that is game changing. I don't know if that's his why, but can you imagine never having to, sort that into the recyclable, or it's unbelievable to me.
That's fantastic. And then the other part is your values, right? So before you can craft a vision, you have to make sure you have what are the behavioral characteristics we want to have in this organization. So you've got your core purpose, your why, your values. Then you're ready to start crafting what that 10-year vision looks like.
Okay, so you got your purpose, your why. You've got your vision. That's what you might imagine for the future. You've got your values that are shared among the teammates. What about philosophies and the mission itself, right? Philosophies meaning like the way we think, right? Because doesn't it all start with sort of the way we think?
Yeah, and that could be right in your values,
okay,
the way you think. And it's again, the expected behavior, how we're judging each other, defining our culture. So then you're understanding, with the understanding that's the way it is, then there's a certain, like you said, philosophical approach that fits or doesn't fit. Because you got to make sure you have the right people to go along that journey with that really will fit within that culture. And you got to ferret that out when you go through that, for sure.
And then there's the mission, right? We talk about the mission, right? At executing on the vision and the rest of it, but we have to go get it done. It feels like a lot of us, we've got the fancy vision statement, mission statement. When it comes down to executing on the mission, that's a heck of a lot harder.
Yeah, it's about focus too, and that's another issue I see with entrepreneurs is that we're chasing a lot of shiny objects. So the focus area has to be aligned with our core purpose and our ultimate vision where we're taking the company. But to really focus their efforts and have 1 or 2 or 3 priorities for the entire company and a process in which we hold ourselves accountable for achieving those action steps that moves the ball down the field. And a lot of times that's absent, to your point, where you got this nice great plan, but nothing gets done or doesn't get done right.
I always say, hey, a lot of people treat their mission statement kind of like wetting your pants. It feels nice and warm, but it doesn't do anything, right? So you have to find a way to get it going and get real traction out of it. I'm wondering, as a CEO, right? If I'm a CEO of one of your peer groups or somebody that's working with you, how do I communicate all this to my team, right? What is the best way? Is it meetings? Is it through words on a paper? I mean, are there rhythms that are associated with best practices for executing?
Yeah, sure. There's meeting rhythms that you can have, and strong leaders have said in the past you have to communicate it 5 or 7 times before everyone really totally gets it.
Okay.
So you have to over communicate that, but you certainly have to have your team involved, and there's regular check-in meetings where you're talking through your issues as a team, what's preventing us from achieving what we're trying to achieve here on these priorities that lead to achieving our vision. And so it's regular communication, your regular accountability meetings, getting the buy-in from the employees and the management, and getting their involvement in the execution.
Well, it's interesting because you are teaching this, you're helping the next guy in line, you've got this background of experience, but this doesn't matter how much experience you have. I mean, I have a little bit of experience myself, but I'm in the middle of starting, 15 companies or whatever this is. Executing is tough. Have you, now you've gone from corporate here to, now you're an entrepreneur, right? This is a small business as well. What kind of challenges did you run in operating this small business?
Well, you have to eat your own dog food, right? So basically practice what I preach and make sure that I'm highly focused and I'm not chasing shiny objects, and I have a very tight, ideal customer base that I help the most, and then really strong execution priorities that go along with that. So sometimes you can catch yourself falling out of that too as well.
Yes. Well, let's talk about social responsibility for a second. It's a hot catchphrase now, is that being a socially responsible entrepreneur. Obviously, what John is doing is great for society. You have a socially responsible vision as well. And I know you're involved with SVP, Social Venture Partners. Talk to us about the community and being socially responsible in your entrepreneurial endeavor.
Sure. For our company, my wife Joyce is my business partner, and our core purpose and what we believe in is that growing companies build thriving communities, and that's our why. It really starts in nonprofit.
I'm going to steal that, by the way. Okay.
We trademark. But it starts with the nonprofit community and education, and that's what SVP is all about. That we have to have kids that are growing up and having a future in terms of being trained through technical schools, colleges, what have you, and in the areas that we feel will fuel growth in Greater Sacramento. A great example of this is a Powerhouse Science Center too, as well. I think that should be a cornerstone of GSAC's strategy, is because they're really pushing STEM and getting kids interested in STEM. And the more they're interested in STEM, they'll go to college and study those areas, and then we'll have a pool of qualified workers that are ready to go, and we can attract more companies that are technology-based to get in there. So that's why we believe very strongly in working in nonprofit area in education. And SVP, we're all partners where we contribute dollars, we pool our dollars together just like you would in a VC, and we invest in building capacity for several nonprofits.
Yeah, it's incredible what you do as social venture partners. I know John is involved in that. I am involved in that. And you guys have a big event coming up at Golden One. I think it's the 8th of March.
Fast Pitch, yes.
Fast Pitch. I get to be one of the judges. But you mentioned GSAC, right? And a lot of people might not know what GSAC is, but these guys, it's a group of people who have come into Sacramento to help recruit business into Sacramento and help business thrive here in Sacramento. And I guess my final question is around Sacramento, right? My hometown. I guess you haven't been here all your life, but this is your adopted hometown now. You think about working together. I call it the power of with GSAC, with the social venture partners, with guys like Craig Hettrich and John Bissell. How important is it that we all work together as leaders?
It's vital. And if any one of those pieces is weak, you are not going to have a thriving community, right? So we need to strengthen nonprofits that work on education. We need to work with entrepreneurs starting companies, which is a lot of environment around that. And in my companies, I'm working with companies that are 1 to 12 million and strengthening areas of their business so they can scale and so they can be job producers. And all of that working together helps to build a thriving community.
I love it. I appreciate you coming on the show again, Craig. We will have you standing invitation here for you. You're so articulate and you're so educational for the entrepreneurs here in Sacramento. When we return, I will be rejoined by Mark Haney. We'll talk a little bit about our vision, and we're going to talk about the entrepreneurial community right here in our hometown of Sacramento. Join the revolution at HaneyBiz.com, courtesy of the Entrepreneurs Organization of Sacramento and Greenberg Traurig. This is the HaneyBiz Project.